Hello friends, this video on sound part 4 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. So now let us talk about the instruments, because when we are talking about sounds, not talking about the instruments will keep the discussion incomplete. So whenever we talk about sound, let's first talk about the pleasant sounds, sounds which we feel like hearing, which makes us feel good. And these kind of sounds come out of the various instruments. Now some of the instruments which you see on the screen are veena, tabla, harmonium. In case you are not aware of which are these instruments, let me just tell you. So this is how a veena looks like. This is veena, this is tabla, this is harmonium. This one is a pair of manjira. This is a ghatam. So this, you see, it almost looks like a earthen pot, but then it produces a very nice sound. This is dholak. This is ek tara. Why is it called ek tara? Tara means nothing but string. Ek is one. So this instrument just has one string. So you can see the one string prominently, and that is why it is called ek tara. So due to the vibration of this one string, it is going to produce a beautiful sound. Guitar, as you can see here. So these are some of the instruments which each of them produce a very unique sound, and as I mentioned, wherever sound is produced, there has to be some vibration. Now, the most interesting part comes here. Now, you might be surprised to know that, okay, when I talk about something like ek tara or guitar or veena, you can actually see the strings. So you can visualize it very easily that, okay, where vibration is happening. When you move the strings vibrate. So that is how sound is produced. But what about these other instruments like the tabla or the dholak or the harmonium? So where is the vibration happening in these instruments? So let us have a look at the vibrating parts of each of these instruments. So every instrument has a part which is capable of vibration and which vibrates, which in turn vibrates the entire instrument, and that produces the sound. So let us look at each of these instruments. Now, as I said, vibrations produce sound. Now, these vibrations in some cases are visible, whereas in some other cases the vibrations are not visible. So let us look at the simpler examples first. So we will take the example of the bell. So in the bell, you can very easily see the vibration. You can actually see this metal ball is vibrating along its mean position. Again, if you talk about instruments like guitar or ek tara or veena, so here also you can see the strings actually vibrating. So stretched string, they are the vibrating part of these instruments. So the strings are stretched, so they are like fixed at both the ends. So if you look at the strings of the guitar, it is fixed at this end and it is also fixed at this end. So both the ends it is fixed, and then when you move it, it is like a stretched string. It is already tight from both the ends and you are moving it from between. So what is happening? It is vibrating. So it is very simple. It is like, let us suppose you take a rubber band. So you just fix it on both the ends. Now, so this rubber band, now if you try to pull it or push it from here, you stretch it from here, what will happen? It will vibrate like this. It will start vibrating like this. It will move. So that is how these stretched strings also move. So here in these type of instruments, the vibrations are easily visible. But there are certain instruments where the vibrations are not visible. So let us look at some of those instruments like the tabla and dholak. So here we do not have any string. So what is vibrating in these cases? So in these cases, it is this membrane which is vibrating. So how do you play a tabla? So the person who is playing tabla, he beats on this membrane. So these membranes, they vibrate. So these are called the stretched membrane. Like how you have strings in case of guitar and veena, here in these type of instruments, you have a membrane. So in dholak also you have a stretched membrane. So when you beat it here, so that produces sound, because whenever you stuck it here, you apply some force here, this membrane start to vibrate, and when it vibrates, it in turn produces sound, and that is what we hear. So these type of instruments, they have a membrane which is capable of vibration when you beat it. Again, you have another type of instruments like a flute. Flute looks such a simple instrument, and it produces such a beautiful sound. Now what do you think is there in it? Because in a flute you neither have a string, nor do you have a membrane. So what do you have here? All you can see in a flute, if you look at the structure of a flute, all you can see are the holes which are present on its surface. And how do you play a flute? You just blow air through those holes, right? So with the help of your fingers, you keep closing and opening the holes. Whenever you don't want a hole to remain open, you just put your finger there and then you blow air through an open hole. So that is how a flute is played. If you want, you can have a look at somebody who is playing a flute. Okay, so what exactly vibrates in this case? Now, a flute is nothing but, it is like a hollow tube inside. You really don't have anything inside. It is just a cylindrical tube which is all hollow inside, and all you have outside are these holes. Now when I say there is nothing inside, that means what is there? Nothing but air. And when you blow through those holes, you are actually making air to flow through those holes. So air flows through the holes on the flute, and the stream of air, it creates a vibration of air at the hole. So it is basically the air which vibrates inside the hollow tube. And this vibration of air produces the sound which we hear. Right? Now, the type of sound or the pitch of the sound which comes out of a flute, that can be changed by opening and closing the holes on the body of the instrument with the help of your fingers. So if you ever closely observe somebody playing a flute, you will see that he is constantly blowing in air through the holes of the flute. So here you can see these are the holes on the body of the instrument. So that person will be constantly blowing in air through these holes, and at the same time his fingers will always be on one of these holes. He will keep on closing and opening these holes with the help of his fingers. So that is how a flute is being played. So here you saw that different instruments have different parts which are capable of vibration, but everywhere there is something or the other which vibrates, which in turn produces sound. Now, not only these instruments, there are a couple of other instruments where you do not have a lot of complexity. You just need to strike the instrument. For example, the ghatam. So I was just telling you, right, it is almost like a pitcher. So you just need to beat it. That's all you have to do. So once you strike on these type of instruments, what happens is, now, for example, I'll give you another example. You talk of tabla. So when you strike the membrane starts vibrating. Now, if you want, that is not very much visible. The vibration is not so prominent that you can see it from a distance. But if you want to feel the vibration, immediately after striking the tabla, just very gently place your finger on this membrane and you will be able to feel that the membrane is vibrating. So that is how you can feel for yourself that how exactly these membranes vibrate. So these were some of the examples of the musical instruments. Now let us try to relate this concept of vibrations producing sound with some of the examples which we see around us. So some of such examples are the clock. Generally the wall clock which we have in our houses. So have you ever noticed the sound produced by the pendulum of the clock? So you will always have the ticking sound of the clock. And where does it come from? It comes from the vibration which is happening inside. So that is one example. The next one is the band party. So wherever you see there is some function happening, or you go to some orchestra or any sort of celebration, you see that people, they blow horn, right? So how do they blow horn? They just push in air and the vibration of the air column produces the sound. A very similar concept like that of a flute. In flute also we were blowing in the air and the vibration of the air inside the hollow tube was producing the sound. So in a very similar way here also, if you see, this person is blowing air inside the body of the instrument. So inside this instrument the air is vibrating and that vibration produces sound. So not only these musical horns, even the horns in your vehicles, they also operate in a very similar way. So it is just that in this case you blow in air through your mouth, and in this case you have a structure like this. So you have a rubber bulb present at the bottom. So as you press this rubber bulb, it is like equivalent to pushing in air inside. So as this rubber bulb is squeezed, air is forced in. So air is forced in this space, and this causes vibration of the air, and when the air column vibrates, it produces sound. And this type of concept of horn is present, and that is why, that is how the horns of the vehicles operate. Now, different types of horns are available, like there are battery operated horns, there are small air horns also. So a variety of them are actually available. But the basic concept in all of them is that there is some or the other vibration which is taking place, because of which the sound is produced. So now with this, I hope that you are convinced that yes, vibration produces sound. So in many cases where even though we cannot see the vibration taking place, but yes, somewhere or the other, whether it is clearly visible or it is hidden, but vibration is taking place. So even we produce a lot. Thank you. Please visit www.examfear.com to watch more educational videos with a better experience. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for latest updates. Thank you once again.